Good morning, everybody. We are back with our eighth session on the essentials of basic business dynamics. Welcome once again to our continuous sessions which are going on from Jan 22, and today we are on the eighth session. And as discussed earlier, we are going to talk about how to analyze your team, the people whom you work with, because they are actually the ambassadors of your organization. So if you, I, everybody, whoever wants to take their organization one step ahead, then they must be very, very careful about the people whom they are choosing. And how to choose the right people is basically the subject today. So before I go ahead, I would like to play a video which is on Action Coach. What is Action Coach and whom do I represent actually? So let's listen to that.
Well, abundance through business re-education. Since 1993, Action Coach business coaches have lived that vision. They're helping business owners across the planet build great companies, create more jobs, and truly grow their communities. Real people getting real results. We've always believed that being in business should give you more life. And right now, we believe in something even greater. The abundance of those amazing business owners, the abundance of the employees in those companies, the abundance of providing free education to every business owner and every local or national business group globally, the abundance of being there for you and every business that needs us right now.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. So here we are talking about a unique process of understanding the team with which we are working for the growth of our organization. The unique way, the system is known as a DISC. We will explain the DISC while we go along in this webinar. Now, before I get into the subject, I would like to talk a little bit about the organization whom we are attached with and what we are doing actually. So the video which we ran right now was of Action Coach from Las Vegas. Action Coach was actually it was conceived by Mr. Brad Sugars and a single-handed owned company in 1993, as you have seen. And today, by our good process of coaching different people, organizations, and entrepreneurs, we are able to be present at approximately 85 countries with 1,000 offices across them, nearly working in countries like Ireland, New Zealand, Australia, US, Canada, India, Thailand, each and everywhere. So we are currently present at 85 countries. When we started our journey in 1923, it was only in Australia. That's where we belong to. And I am a certified business coach as well as an executive coach from the Action Coach fraternity. And I'm really proud to do that. On those lines, today we are going to talk about a system called DISC. DISC is a combination of four words: D for dominance, I for influence, S for steadiness, and C for consciousness. Now, these are the four characteristics which are present in a character of a human being. So, whoever are working in our organization or will be joining our organization will also have these type of characteristics. That is where all the things are happening. Okay, now, so the point is, how does DISC help us? That's the subject today. We all talk about this and when it started and how it is affecting us and how it will help us to understand the way of functioning of our team. That's the system today. Let's go forward on it. I hope everybody knows this picture, right? It's a picture which was very much present in this universe, and we were actually watching them. We know this story about. Can anybody tell what is this story all about? Who is this actually? Which is this ship? So you can always put your answers in that and tell us who is this, what is this ship all about? So this is a ship which we will never forget in our life. Now let us see who is the ship, who were there in the ship, and what the ship was all about. This is nothing but Titanic. So the story is all about Titanic. What happened to Titanic? The story says like this: after leaving Southampton on 10th of April 1912, Titanic called at a place called Cherbourg in France and Queenstown, which is now known as Cobb in Ireland. So before heading west, to other places, okay, to New York, on 14th April, 4 days into the crossing and about 600 kilometers south of the area of Newfoundland, Titanic hit an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. Now, this is as per the ship's timing. So at 2:20 a.m., she broke apart and just vanished inside the sea with thousands of people on board. Now, how did it happen? This was such a huge ship. It was technically developed and it was never supposed to be drowned in this way, but it drowned. It was only an iceberg, what we have seen that. The question is how that iceberg became so strong than the Titanic that it can even it can actually wreck the ship around, which was the pride of the entire world. So let's find out. On this basis, we are talking about an iceberg, the iceberg inside a human behavior. The tip of the iceberg is basically used to acknowledge what is being experienced or what we see from outside, whereas it is actually an indication of something much, much bigger than what we see. That's an iceberg, because what we see of an iceberg is actually 1/10, not the full. Whatever we see iceberg as a shape and a size, that is actually 1/10, whereas the 9/10 of that particular material, of that particular unit, is under the water, which we can't see. That exactly resembles with the human behavior. This is how it looks like. The human behavior is actually what we see is the action, what actions he's taking, his behavior, his way of taking decisions against in any situations. That's what we see. Now, all these things basically are dependent upon the skills, belief, values, and identity which has been created inside his subconscious mind. That's what a person is all built about. So that by seeing the result, we only understand what is happening to that. But that result actually has been derived by the results of the skills, the beliefs which he have been born with, lived with, the values which has been actually inducted in his own system, and his identity, his background. That's his environment. That what gives the results, his action, his behavior, and his decision-making power, or the kind of decisions what he takes in different situations, what is actually seen by us. So, my dear friends, When we are working with a team of people, we are actually working with a team of icebergs, where each and every iceberg has got a different skill, has got a different belief system, different values in their own life, and are actually different from everybody. So you cannot actually standardize the behavior of all your team iceberg. Let's understand this, because when we are trying to recruit people for any of the departments within the organization, we normally don't understand, or we normally cannot understand how to judge a person whether he is the right candidate for that particular position. So long back, a gentleman called Dr. Wharton, he came out with a process of a psychometric test, which we will come in details in this next 40 minutes. We will talk about that in detail so that you are very clear about what we're talking about, how to understand that 9/10 of that iceberg in your person. That is the most important thing. The 9/10, which is invisible. What is visible, we see, but that cannot be changed, because if you cannot change the 9/10, you cannot change the 1/10. So let's go forward on this. How do we know the iceberg? How do we get the right people in our organization, which is synonymous as getting the right people in the right ship? How do we assess them? How do we find them, who they are, whether they are actually good in our system or not? Pardon me saying so, every people are not fit for every subject. Let's understand this, accept it, embrace it, because it will show us the right way. One person on an individual working at a particular area may be shifted to another domain, but we have to keep it in mind, without understanding the person, if you are shifting him, he may succeed, he may not succeed. Or maybe today he is not succeeding, but tomorrow he may succeed. So how do we assess them? And what actually we are going to assess? Are we going to assess his mark sheets? Are we going to access his previous experiences in different organizations? What actually we are going to assess, and how do we assess? That's the biggest challenge in any organization today. And moreover, after we joined back all after the pandemic, we are all trying to understand who is there and who is not there, what we require and what we don't require. This has become the biggest question today. So why do we assess? The final question is, why do we assess? We assess so as to minimize the time of understanding. We can take chances by appointing multiple of peoples. Like in a general organization, there are multiple of people joined. Let's talk about the credit card companies, previously the Eurogafos companies. The companies like Eurogafos, the credit card, the banks and everything, they bring in multiple of people, but multiple of people also leaves that particular position. Some of them actually succeed. But today, things have changed. It doesn't work in that way. When we are approaching somebody, we must know who he is. We must know where he comes from, and we must know what his experience is. And we also must know the 9/10 of his actual behavior. So what we look today, and what I suggest that you should look today for the integrity in the person, the ability in the person to understand, to listen, to learn, to unlearn, and then again learn, instead of his past performance. Because product within you, in your organization, the services what you sell is all different from where he's coming from. And of course, the ambience where he is coming into are also different from where he is coming from. So everything is being changed when that person is coming to your organization. Hence, it is highly required to assess those people while we induct them inside our own organizations, or we can say it's a family. So the 9 why we should do this. We should do this because we need to improve our hiring process. We should do this because we have to increase our sales. That is the only bloodline of any organization. We can have the 100% of the systems available in the world, but if there is no sales, if we don't have an appropriate person for a sales activity, none of the system will work. And I differ from people saying that put it into the process, create the system first and then put it into sales. I will say create the sales first and then put the sales inside the process so that it gives a better result. Because you need to see your profitability also while you're inducting different type of company processes, systems, SAP, this and that. So that is very important. That's why I put it in the second part of improving the hiring system and increasing the sales. To keep the boat running, to keep the ship floating on the water, you need to improve your customer service. Very important. Because customers, if they're happy, they will be the brand ambassadors for your organization, for the products you sell, for the services you render to the people. To do this in a seamless process, you need to increase the productivity. Reduce your employee turnover. Now, what happens with that? When you reduce your employee turnover, what happens is exactly you actually save money, you actually save time, and you increase the productivity. So when you are improving your hiring process, improving your sales, followed by improving your customer service, increasing productivity within the organization, man-to-man productivity, man hours, man days. And if everything is going well and we are able to set that process in place, obviously it will reduce your employee turnover. Customize employee training. Let not that employee training be a part of the KRA of the HR department. I'm sorry to say that, but in 90% organizations, employee training is a part of HR activity and is always done during the last quarter of the financial year. Please take a look at this activity. It should be customized for your different departments in a completely different customized way. Model team building. What is that particular model? What you are going to follow? What is the hierarchy of your system? Self-reveal is the most important subject. If I don't know myself, how will I know others? So let's understand our own self, who we are, where we're coming from, what is our DIX profile, what is the different percentage of a dominance and an influencing factor or the steady factor, or maybe the consciousness factor in our own self. Because these 4 characteristics will try to find out the characteristics in the people whom we are meeting. Leadership development. So when we talk about this, we were talking about improving hiring places, getting the right people in the right place, selling style to match customers' buying style. How do we do that? Understanding the customer. Proposing the product, the services, depending upon the customer's buying style. Improve the customer service is very much important because customers who are happy with you are the ambassadors for your organization. And customers who are not happy with you by any chance, which is always possible, there are percentage of customers who may not be happy what you are trying to give or what you are trying to deliver, maybe your time frequency, anything, whatever it is, has to be taken care by more delicately than any other happy customers. Because one unhappy customer without any reason can actually damage 1,000 happy customers across. So take care of these unhappy human beings which have been attached with you and suddenly vanished from your end. Go back to your tally systems for the last 3-4 years, find out who were there, who are not here right now, who came once but didn't come back to you. All these people has to be taken care within your tally system. Find out them, talk to them, create a definite area for them so that you are able to understand who are they, why we are missing them. Increase the productivity. Scientific, accurate process to find the strength and shortcoming of the employees. I will use the word areas of development of the employees. That would have been a better word, not the shortcoming, because every person has got some, excuse me for a second. Yeah. So everybody has got some areas of improvement. You can teach a person, but that person should be ready to acquire that strength, what you have given to him, and then carry it forward. If anybody of you has gone through the Bhagavad Gita, in the last slok, when the Krishna says to Arjun, he says that I have given you all my weapons to you. Now it is up to you, how will you use it to reap the result? That's what it is. Increase the productivity. Reduce your employee turnover. Ensure job fit for your every hire so that you don't misuse your money. Customize employee training, very, very important part on that. One size fits one or not all. One size fits only one, not all. Please don't try to teach everything to everybody. It doesn't get inside. It doesn't happen because their disc profiles are different. So when you understand the people, the person in your organization about what they are, who they are, and what they are good at, then you will find obviously different ways of training them in their own process. To know who fits with whom in advance. A very silent killing attitude in an organization. I repeat the word, a very silent killing attitude within the organization. Not everybody likes to report to everybody. Not everybody wants everybody in his or her team. It is better to know who fits with whom in advance before you put a leadership program inside them. Better to understand the domain where we are strong and what are the areas of improvement, the room of improvement. I believe in one thing in this context, that when we are trying to develop our areas of improvement, why not we develop our strength? Why not we strengthen our strength so much that a little bit of areas of improvement can be taken care of, can be ignored on that way? Think about it. It's an open thought process. This is my thought process, and I believe it happens because I have seen there is no person without an area of improvement. Now, the point is, when we start developing, when we start improving the areas of improvement, a lot of time goes away. So if I think another way, if I strengthen my strength so much that the rooms of improvement can be taken in a slow stride, it can get on improving on a low process. But initially what happens, everybody tries to work on their own areas of improvement. Sometimes it becomes late. Leadership development, as what I was saying, know who fits with whom in advance. Again, know who fits with whom in advance. It is like a model team building. So these are the 9 reasons why we should actually understand the iceberg of the person, the disc of the person. So this is what the disc is all about. D, I, S, and C. So when we talk about D, I, S, and C, I was already talking about those words called dominance, influencing, stabilizing, steadiness, and cautiousness or consciousness. So you will find every one of us, every individual are a combination of these 4 characteristics, the D, the I, the S, and the C. They are present in each and every human being in different proportions. So a D is basically a result-oriented person. He is a driver of any situations. He's very competitive. Sometimes what happens, he doesn't even take care what is happening in the process. He just wants to have it. The areas of improvement of this particular person is his head is always above the clouds and he doesn't understand the reality sometimes. He just wants it. That is what a D is. That there is a full process of understanding a person with a high dominance or a low dominance. There are different processes which takes a lot of time. So if anybody of you are interested to know more about it, to know more about yourself, your family members, or your team members, get in touch with us. We will be able to help you with a proper disc analysis. The next person is I, influencing, persuasive, inspiring, enthusiastic, makes all people understand and work for it. So what happens? An I and an D, if you see on the top, we have written outgoing, right? They are outgoing. They reach out to people to make their mission successful. The I primarily works with D. The ideas innovated by D are taken care of I. The I actually takes care of those different vision of D and tries to create a mission within the team. Persuasive, inspiring, more enthusiastic. Whereas S is somebody who is at the back end. Listens to everything. Tries to make a logic into everything. Very patient, not pushy. The very reserved, if you'll see that in the S and the C are very reserved persons. They're not outgoing, like D and I, who reaches out to people. The people who have got S and C, who falls under the category of stabilizing or steadiness, cautious or consciousness, they are very much reserved. They like to stay in the background. Look into it, analyze it, detailed into it, systematic. Whereas, if you think in the other way, the person with an influencing character and with a stabilizing character are very much people-oriented because they are listening. So the character, what it says, persuasive, inspiring, enthusiastic, combination of with an amiable, democratic, and patient, basically gives his people-oriented structure within his own character. On the other hand, a person with a result-oriented, very much result-oriented, doesn't look into anything, a driver of any situations. Just give him a product, just give him a seed. He will do everything from sowing it down to take it out of plant about it. Competitive, does not allow himself to lose an area of improvement, does not accept losing. They are mentally supported with analytical ideas, detailed orientations, systematic, and so these people are very much task-oriented. So each and every one of us are a combination of D, I, S, and C. If you look at into this sphere, in this globe, you will find each person has got traits of D, I, S, and C. So when you understand that, when you talk to people, you will always try to understand what type of person he is, because you will only do better when you are actually touching the person in the right time and in the right place. Okay, the approach has to be different from each and every situations, from each and every person. That is how this helps you. Let's know the journey of assessment. 1928, Dr. William Moulton was the first person to actually create this disc analysis. But he was a rather D character. He can create, but he cannot take it forward. Hence, from 1928 to 1956, this product was not actually marketed well in this world. So what happened? It was known to very few people. It was known to very few people, and those people, I'm so sorry, they were not able to market it. The point is, if you want to really make a business about it, then you need to make a market about it. Then you need to find a market of it, right? So that was done by Walter Clark, who actually started marketing. Started going to different universities, talking to people, and then they found it very, very effective. And today it is widely used by big organizations, MNCs, how to find out the right person in the right place and in the right department. Finally, in 1965, Walter was able to publish DISC officially and then get into selling about it. So this is the short journey of the assessment. The journey is very, very long. I've just taken 3 specific dates just to tell that 1965, it was actually published officially in all the forums, and 1928 was the beginning by Dr. William Moulton Marston. So going forward, a little bit more details. I will not go into so many details because it is really, really very exhaustive. But it is very interesting also to know the D, I, S, and C. You will see different characteristics which you will be able to find out, resonate with it. A person with an assertive nature, result focused, rapid decisions, not so much of thinking, kar dena hai, kalo chalo kar lete hain, will seek challenges, can be aggressive at one point of time, very impatient, always on a leading attitude, always desires to lead, never is. So what is not there in this person is basically he is not a good listener. He wants people to listen to him. A person with a D and I combination can be both assertive, can be also persuasive, which is a part of a person with a more influencing time with him, likely to embrace new ideas, a mover and a shaker, very high energy, and is capable of engaging lot of people and drive them towards the goal which has been thought by the D. A person with a very I is very weak in sales because they can only influence people. They are very outgoing, they are persuasive, they always keep on looking for variety in a day. So they are not able to close a very good person. They are actually very, very good person. As you see what is written, they're very outgoing, very persuasive, people oriented, will be a good team, a part of a good team, very optimistic look, but only the area of improvement is closure of an idea. Milking the cow. is the last result. Unless and until you milk the cow does not give the milk, which we have discussed a few days back. Whereas again, an S typically is a person with a very patient, likes to talk to people, very stable, because he is not driving the company from the front end. He always likes to work in a very steady nature, in a very peace nature. You cannot push him very hard. You cannot push him very hard. Okay, so these are the different ways where we can find out. This is a very, very short. We have got the reports which are generated out of this tests are normally from 44 pages to 55 pages, and it is really, really very, very exhaustive about a person. On a lighter note, आप लोग सब तो अपना अपना कुंडली बनाए थे, बना गए. When you were born, a kundli was made without your knowledge. When you were in a different state of life, then again the kundli was actually thought about, discussed in some families. But the problem with the kundli is that it tells you what is going to happen. It doesn't tell you what you are actually. So in this process, having a disc of your own, there is a disc called for the children also, where is a disc for the adult people also, which helps you to know yourself. Because when you know yourself, you will be able to know the others, the person in front of you much better. You can actually analyze, divert, change, organize, break, and again build a relation if you know the person ahead of you. So that is why DISC today is becoming very, very popular, and it is really, really a good assessment tool for yourself also, and for your team members also, for your family members also. Now in this circle, we see one dot and one star. This dot and star are the two phases of an individual. The dot is basically when you are at your own home, or you are within your own people, how you behave. And the star is basically what you adapt when you come out of your home. When you are away from your known people, how do you react? How do you take actions? What are your answers is basically your adapted style. So the star is your adapted style, and the dot is your natural style. Now, this person whose disc is there with us right now, what it shows, this individual takes a lot of pain to actually change himself when he comes out of his home. He's so conscious, he's so analytical guy at home, which he takes care of each and every proceedings in the home, understands it, gives decisions depending upon the viability of that particular opinion. Is not so much conscious when he comes out of the home. Sometimes C is known as conservativeness. Again, there are some people who talk about conservativeness. There are some people who talk about consciousness. There are some people who say that C and S is the mother of the family. They hold the D and the I from running too far away from their goalpost. Because D and I has got a tendency to run too away from their goalpost sometimes. In those cases, C and S comes out as the mother of the family. Analytical, supportive, precise, focused, doesn't like confusion, ki haan ho jayega, chalo kar leta hai. No, why it can be done, why it should be done, how it can be done. That is what a C and S is, protective. A simple word is protective. But the problem is when there is too much of a protectiveness in an organization, the organization also doesn't grow, because we take it very personally. When you take an organization very personally, then actually you love that organization so much that you are afraid of taking risk. And my dear friends, without taking risks, in the bracket, calculated risk, you will also not grow. So the growth is basically is equal to calculated risk taken at the right time. So this is how this analysis is being made. So more can be discussed about this. There are a lot of things which can be discussed about this, but that will be taking a lot of time. We will not take a lot of time from yours, as we promised you that we will complete this by 45 minutes and not very far from there. So how they will likely communicate, how the discommunicate, assertive, directive, few words, बात कम करेंगे, bullet points में talk बात करेंगे, short and concise, no stories, boss, come to the point immediately, often with a little detail or explanation. When you are trying to sell something to an high D, don't get into understanding the nature of the place, the product as such. Talk to him about the bullet points, what he will benefit out of it. Don't tell the process, how the product was developed in whatever ambience. That is not his priority. He wants to understand what is the value and how that will create value in his system. Simple. So, while talking to D, it has to be very, very concise, in bullet points, short, very little details. Whereas an I style, when you're talking to an I style, this guy is friendly, persuasive. If you behave with him like how you're behaving with a D, this guy will never take an interest on you. He will feel that, no, this guy is very rough. And I, while talking to an I, when you're negotiating with an I, while taking an order, I always repeat that while taking an order, he will keep on deviating from topic to topic. And believe me, you also need to deviate from topic to topic, because we have to keep him in pace. The S, the kind person, professional person, thoughtful, will share information with you. If you tell him that why you are going to him, he will also gather information for you. Supportive, would like to understand step by step, completely detailing. Very tricky. How you are talking to a person who is an a D, who is an I, who is an S, and who is an a C. So while you're talking to a guy who is C, actually got a larger component of C in him, he will get into procedures, rules, detailing analysis, and often believes in Excel sheets. So what happens when we actually see the results produced by people, and in an organization, it is clear that the waterline, remember the iceberg, what we see is only the result of the 9/10 of the character. So here, whenever we are trying to understand the D or the I or the S and the C, we are only understanding the 1/10. So when we look at them, the results, they are actually the behavior, the result, what we see. But those things are actually coming out from their original infrastructure, which has been built into them. So what happens? When we leave, when we walk, it seems that as though in a default investment lean towards a superficial and unsustainable picture in that, where all the coaching, the leadership development are there. So we actually change not the behavior. We don't change the performance. While doing the disc, we actually change how we think about that performance. I repeat that word. We don't change behavior. We cannot change the behavior. What we change is what drives that behavior. More to say on this is basically we don't change the performance. You cannot teach performance, but how to think about that performance is very important. So we help people to understand how to think about the performance and work on to influence the factors that are actually inhibiting the performances. This is what our disc is all about. This could include motivational talks, values, expectations, emotions, everything is involved into all these analysis factors. So these are basically how the disc is taken care of and how this disc actually helps you to do that. So when you talk about when, the D always wants an answer. When, कब होगा ये? आप तो बोल दिया कि होगा, लेकिन कब होगा? When it will take, when it will happen, very important. कब होगा? I, who will do it? S will ask why we want to do it. And the C will ask how you do it. So these are the questions, these are the areas which will help you to understand what type of style that person is all about. A person who is continuously insisting on when, वो तो समझ गया लेकिन कब मिलेगा? The other vendor is telling that ये तो कल मिलेगा, आप बोल दे 2 दिन बाद मिलेगा. You can always tell him that boss मेरा 2 दिन बाद मिलेगा because it is a fresh material. He is not interested in that. कब मिलेगा? When? Who will bring it for us? How fast? Who will bring it for us? That is what the I is all about. Who is always wondering who will do the job. The S is always an emotive about why we should actually agree to your proposal. The basic question, why we should agree to your proposal, why do we need it? The S will always go back to D and I to ask them, why do you need this product? Why do you need this change? The C will ask the D and the I, how we will do it? Do you have the resources? I see we don't have the resources, then why are you telling that you want to do it? See, these are the various questions which are inherited by that particular characteristics, which actually helps you to understand who the person are when you are talking to them. And this helps you making a better and a more efficient deal. So dominance is how people address problems and challenges. Influential person is basically handling situations involving people and contacts. So the D is all about problems and challenges. Influence all about people and contacts. Steady people is basically slow pace and consistency, whereas the consciousness is basically react to procedure and constraints, taking care of them. So believe me one thing, all these 4 characteristics are present in each one of us in different proportions, of course, but all these 4 characteristics are equally important and equally required. So don't judge it whether it is right or wrong. Oh my God, he is more dominant guy, we should not talk to him. Not like that. These are the different characteristics which are developed within a human being in the subconscious mind because of their way backgrounds. Okay, so little bit of talking about the 7 type of disc assessments what we do. One is self, knowing about yourself. One is the leadership assessment, where normally the big organizations do it when they actually upgrade people, when they find out people pushing the people on the hierarchies. The disc and motivator, how motivation helps the disc to change. Learning style, whether how much quality he has got in learning and learning new things. EIQ2 and DISC plus EIQ2, the emotional intelligence quotient is something very important, very seldom used in the country, but is very important. And finally, the recent addition is a kids assessment. From the age of 8 to 18, we can use this. It helps the children to find out who they are, what they want to do. It's not that the mother wants to make him or her a doctor and the father wants to make him or her an engineer. It's not like that. You can assess your child what they're good at. but it does not give you a direct answer that your daughter or your son will become a doctor or an engineer. Don't look for that. Then it's a wrong assessment. Okay, you need to understand what is he strong at and what is the areas of improvement. If he's strong at something, push him so strong that he becomes much more stronger and strongest in that particular domain, so that everything is buried down. It helps the people to make a faster movement. So how do we take the disc? Another 5 minutes, gentlemen. How do we take the disc? Taking a disc assessment involves answering questionnaire about your own behavior, choosing descriptors most like you and least like you, which you like the most and which you don't like, which you like the least. So every question, there will be around 30-35 questions, online test. Each questions will have 4 to 5 options, and you have to choose one answer. It takes hardly 15 to 20 minutes how to do it. Want to know more about it? Please get in touch with us. I will share the coordinates of our organization about me. We will help you to understand yourself, your team, your members, and whoever you think that this will be helpful for them. What is this? A very interesting factor. This is available in everyone in our house, within ourselves. So everybody knows about it, nothing to tell. It's a mirror. When you talk to somebody in your professional life or in your personal life, I'm talking about when you talk to somebody in your personal life or in your professional life, follow these 4 steps. If they are going faster, speed up. If they are going slower, slow down yourself. If they are focused on the task, get right to it without any introduction. If they are wanting to talk more, interact more, allow them to connect with you. So I repeat, I found these 4 words to be very, very important, and I have started using this, understanding this. It makes my life easy to understand the person whom we are talking to. So I repeat those 4 points. If you see the person sitting before you is going fast, go fast. If you find that the person wants to understand more, wants to go slow, give him time, slow down. There are some people who are very much focused on the task. So don't get into introduction about the features and all those things. Get into the right point. This is what it is. What will be the benefit when you do this, and what will you miss when you don't do this? Remember, don't ever tell them what they will not get. They are not interested. They are interested in what they will miss if they don't join. That is very important. The 4th one, if they are wanting to talk more, to interact more, steady character, please allow time for conversations and connections. So please remember this mirror. If you have taken the 4 points, very good. If you have not taken, remember it. With this, I come to the last 3 events in our entire business discussions group. On 28th of May, we will come on the same time with a subject called leverage. How do we understand and optimize our existing resources rather than trying to find out more resources? 11th June, we will come with the synergy and the result. What is the benefit of what we have done? The synergies and the results, the management, the harmony. Oil machines, how do we actually run the machine in an oil mill? 25th June will be a workshop. We will get another speaker to talk to all of you. We'll talk about lead generations, talk about reporting, KPI, and of course, there is a surprise prize distribution for all of you. With this, let me go forward. We at Atkonnectt Redefining Businesses, at the company where we are working from, we conceive the noble vision is what the action coach vision is all about. world abundance through business re-education. So here we work with different business people, entrepreneurs on a systematic one-on-one basis, trying to take their vision jointly to the next level and finding out outcomes organically. Very important, organically. Nothing magic happens when you're trying to develop something. The key areas where we at Atkonnectt focus on you is basically the strategic planning, the sales team building, sales and marketing, systematic process of understanding it, optimizing the process, remove those things which are not required, induct those things which are actually essential, discuss it, close it, and then carry it, following a process of PDCA. So that is how we do it. What we do, this is our different courses. We are on a one-on-one coaching. We understand growth clubs where different business people come together and they discuss. Believe me, my friend, this activity helps a lot of business people to get an idea from other people who are not in the business, and that becomes a big, big magic. BBQs to understand your business and to tell you how you can develop on this business. Group coaching, there are some people who are really bored to talk to a coach like us alone. They want a group to be done that we do group coaching also. And business rich, when we talk about 100 crore plus improvement, the entire system takes changes. Okay. So thank you very much again, once more, that you are here with us. And here are the different coordinates of Atkonnectt Redefining Businesses. The email ID is also there. And don't forget to visit our website. You will see there were a lot of informations which are very helpful. You can actually take those informations, utilize it in your own system and see the changes. Thank you so much. And I close here the sharing.